Hey, it's Cole here from Rosso Coffee Roasters. I'm going to brew for you a V60 and I'm going to walk you through my recipe on how to make a V60. So this is a pour over method, and what that means is I'm going to pour water from the top. It's going to pass through a filter and the coffee grinds, and the size of those grinds is going to dictate how long this brew method is going to take. Now this particular brewer is named V60 because of the 60-degree angle in which the brewer is shaped. It's made by a company called Hario, which is based in Japan, and they make these filters here. So you can see there's a serrated edge on the side. I like to fold down that serrated edge in order to create a more conical shape for when I place this into the actual brewer itself. These filters are bleached, so I like to rinse them in order to remove any papery taste that might appear in the cup when we actually brew our coffee. So I'm just pouring hot water through the paper filter into a secondary cup to remove that papery taste. And as that's happening, we can talk about our coffee itself and come back to the brewer. So for this method, I'm going to use what I refer to as an exotic coffee. This is a Castillo variety that's produced in Cundinamarca department of Colombia by Rodrigo Morales. And it's processed by an amazing farm called La Palma y el Tucán. It's undergone a lot of fermentation, and it's a really complex and nuanced coffee with a bright citric acidity and lots of complexity to it. It's going to do wonders in this V60 to really showcase its complexity. So I'm going to start by just weighing out the coffee itself. For this one, I'm going to use 25 grams of beans and 425 grams of water. And I'll walk you through exactly how to brew it. So I've got my 25 grams and I'm going to grind them at a coarse grind setting. All right, this smells great. Lots of grapefruit, kind of a marmalade sort of quality. So I'm just going to prepare my carafe. I'm going to get it on my scale and my V60 here. And I want to zero this out to ensure that I am getting the exact amount of coffee grinds that I want into the brewer itself. So sometimes your grinder will hold a little bit of coffee from a previous grind, sometimes not. In this case, I've got a touch more than I want, so 0.4 grams more. I'm just going to take a moment and scoop this out to ensure that I'm following the exact recipe that I'm after. Great. So there's my 25 grams. Now if you see my coffee bed here, it's got a little bit of a mountain in the middle. I'm just going to give this a bit of a shake to evenly distribute all the grinds to ensure that when I pour my water, everything is evenly extracted as it's going through. So I've got my 25 grams and I'm going to use 425 grams of water. And I'm pouring that with a gooseneck kettle so I can control the flow rate and I can really get in there and target the positions that I want to in the actual bed of coffee to ensure even extraction. So I'm going to start a timer and I'm going to pour 100 grams of water. This first pour is called the bloom. We're going to see some offset of gases showcasing freshness in this roast. So there's my bloom. I like to do 100 grams, which is more than I find a lot of people recommend for a bloom. This is a 4-to-1, but I find it keeps the actual brew bed a little bit hotter temperature and you get a little bit more clarity to the acidity in my experience. I'm going to let this go till about the 45-second mark when a lot of these bubbles have stopped forming, and then I'm going to pour my second pass of water. I'm going to add 125 grams, bringing me to a total on my scale of 225 grams of water. So you can see when I'm pouring in circular motion, and I'm starting in the middle and working my way out to the edge, but I'm never pouring directly on the filter on the edge because that will bypass the coffee altogether in a V60. So I'm pouring near to the perimeter and then I'm working my way back in with my pour. In my last pour, I'm going to add another 200 grams of water, bringing me to my total of 425 grams. I'm going to do that starting now at the 140 mark. Brilliant. So I've added my 425 grams of water to my 25 grams of Rodrigo Morales. So I'm using a 17-to-1 ratio for this particular brew. Something I like to do as it's all draining through is just give it a quick swirl to reincorporate any grinds that might be left on the wall of the filter itself, and just a soft tap on the table to knock everything down into a flat and even bed toward the bottom of the brewer. So while this is draining through, some things I can do to be proactive as a barista, maybe turn off and get rid of my scale, as I won't need it anymore past this. I can get rid of any cups that I'm not using, and maybe there's some grinds that are on the table, so I can be nice and proactive and clean while this is happening. I also have the cups that I'm going to pour my coffee into, and I'm just going to give them a small splash of water to preheat them. And give them a little rinse. All right, and it looks like my brew's all done at about the 3-minute and 15-second mark, which I would say is a pretty appropriate time and what I'm after for this brew. I'm just gonna get rid of my V60 and leave the filter there. It smells great. A lot of those citrus tones are coming through again. Lots of chocolate, cocoa nibs. I like to keep a little bit in the vessel just in case anybody wants another splash when we're all done. It's a touch hot at the moment, but as it cools, I think a lot more of the flavors are going to be perceived and come through into clarity. But right now, lots of that citrus. There's beautiful acidity to this coffee, nicely balanced, good sweetness, kind of a dark chocolate tone toward the back end, and that grapefruit and sort of a marmalade quality through the middle. Really nice.